Hey y'all, this is Michael with the personal reading for Taurus Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus for March 2020. I do hope this video finds you all well, whether you're watching it for yourself or cross-watching for another individual with Taurus placements. I do want to thank all of you who have supported this channel. Your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes help it to continue to grow, and it helps me continue sharing these messages and doing this incredible work. So thank you all so much for all of your support. If you haven't already, definitely hit subscribe and follow me on all of my social media, which is linked in the description box down below, as well as links for personal readings and Reiki sessions. I occasionally update with announcements, as well as discounts and giveaways. And I do want to just kind of put on the radar, we are getting near 40,000 subscribers at the time of this recording, so we might just be hitting that this month, which will be very exciting, and I usually do giveaways around those times, so just something to put on the radar, hint hint. Never hurts to subscribe and follow if you're not doing that already. And again, by following me on my other social media, it makes sure that you don't miss out on your chance to win a free reading or personal Reiki session or any sort of discount or sale I may be doing. So pretty exciting stuff, right? I am really curious to see what comes out for you, Taurus. As I'm kind of doing my shuffling here, I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping. I do have the astrology forecast blog in the description box, as well as a natal chart calculator for those of you who don't know your moon, rising, or Venus sign. Those can be helpful if this video doesn't quite resonate or you just want greater clarity on something. And because this is a general reading, it's definitely not going to resonate for all of you. You have to use your own intuition and discernment to figure out what messages apply to your own life and what should be left behind for somebody else. And I do also have a new series called Heart of the Matter. At this time, there's only one batch of those videos, but they are timeless. So depending on when you're watching this, there may be a second set, and you're welcome to look through and see if any of those videos pop out at you either. And those are really fun. Those are actually more of a psycho-spiritual read. It's much more personal. And I've had a lot of fun making those videos, so I hope you all enjoy those, and I know they've been pretty well received so far. So Taurus, overall energy, what is calling you to action this month? We do have the Nine of Swords. And I just want to make sure you can see that. And we can kind of tell by this figure, a lot of you are really dealing with a lot of anxiety. There might be some sleepless nights. There might be a lot of self-defeating talk that's going on. And with this energy of the Nine of Swords, you might be at a breaking point here. You might have been dealing with something for so long and it's just been bothering you, but you haven't been saying anything. And I feel like you're finally coming to this point in March where it's like something has to give, something has to be said in this situation in your lives. This could be a relationship. This could be a work situation. Again, it's going to be a little different for all of you in this general reading. But I feel like my Taurus folk are really experiencing a lot of anxiety, at least at the start of this month here. What else do we have for Taurus? And you know, just a friendly reminder, we are still in that Mercury retrograde phase as well. So there might be some miscommunication. There might be a lot of anxiety in the air and confusion. So, you know, don't be too wrapped up in that. Mercury goes direct on the 10th, thankfully, but we will still be in that post-shadow phase for a couple of weeks. And with Mercury in Pisces, that is your 11th house, which is your house of networking, communication, and social support. So you may be feeling a little isolated here. And maybe that's what this story is, this anxiety is. You feel totally alone. You don't know who to reach out to. You don't know who to ask support from. As for the advice or the people helping you out, we do have the Temperance card. There's also a Queen of Swords in reverse with the Five of Pentacles. So again, you may be feeling a little bit isolated, Taurus. And if you're feeling really alone, or you keep feeling like you're in this situation where you don't have anyone to reach out to, I want you to really think about how you might be holding yourself back and cutting people out. With this Queen of Swords in reverse, you might just be very guarded. Some of you might be receiving some help or talking to a Sagittarius individual with this Temperance card. I do feel like there's a lot of healing that needs to be had here. And I'm getting the sense or situation that someone was either rejected or left out in the cold or feels a little abandoned by someone. And that could be a Sagittarius individual, or it could be someone who has strong air placements, so Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius, and that can be Sun, Moon, or Rising. So keep all of that in mind. But if they have a lot of air and Sagittarius placements, this could be this person. And it feels like there's definitely this healing that you're bringing to yourself and also to a situation where it kind of feels like everyone's off in their own corner. You might have to be the one to kind of reach out to some people. So let's see what else we have. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, Taurus. And don't be afraid to speak up. Challenge. 8 of Swords. And this did show up in reverse initially. And this tells me that you are going to be getting yourself out of a situation, out of a place you feel stuck, but it might take some time. And whenever we have the 8 of Swords, again, we're really looking at our perception. This is a very psychological reading, actually, because it's asking you to change your perception of a situation. You might be telling yourself a story and only seeing the evidence of that, and that's actually called a confirmation bias, when you already have a belief about a situation or a person, and everything you interpret is through that lens to only support your pre-existing notion or pre-existing feeling. And it's only making you more anxious and making you feel more stuck. You are able to cut yourself out of this situation, even if there is a lack of financial stability for some of you, which I am picking up. But you have to realize first that you're not seeing everything. You're not seeing things from all angles. When we look at this 8 of Swords, which is actually one of my favorite cards, we see this woman who feels trapped. She feels helpless in her situation. She is bound, she is blindfolded and surrounded by these swords. However, what she hasn't seen, because of the blindfold, is that she's actually able to cut herself free. There is help within her reach. She is able to get out of the situation, but again, she's not seeing it. So there's some sort of help or assistance that you are not seeing this month, and this person may even help you financially for some of you. It could be a family member, it could be something like that, or even a friend. And they can also help you find emotional balance, especially if you've been struggling with anxiety. That's too many. Let's try again. I'm not taking that many. What else do we have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus for March 2020? The 10 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, you've been carrying a burden. And you've been carrying this burden, keeping things to yourself for so long, that you may not even realize you're carrying them. And however this is translating into your life, whether there's other people or an external situation, you're carrying a lot of weight from that. And you're still putting a lot on your own shoulders here. And you don't want to let this go. You feel like if you lower your guard for even just a second, something could fall away. But it's like, if something is really that unstable, Taurus, regardless of whether or not that's true, and I really don't think it is, just looking at these cards, but let's say it is true. Is that really something that is going to be sustainable for you in the long run? Do you really need to hold on to this if it is going to just blow away? You know, don't live in a house of cards where pulling one thing or one breath could cause everything to collapse. But again, I think a lot of this energy is actually your mind. And there is this thing with stability for you. And it might feel like you're having a hard time achieving that. And that's actually going to be something you may be dealing with for a while. Why that is we have Saturn entering Aquarius. And that's going to be happening towards the end of the month, which is your second house. Your house of stability. Your house of finances and possessions. And whenever you have Saturn moving through a sign, I'm sorry, that's not true. It's not your second house. Whoa, sorry about that. It's your 10th house. It is your house of career. Okay, the message was still there, but it has more to do with your career and more to do with your purpose. You're going to be feeling really called to step into your purpose. And for some of you, I wonder if some of you are actually afraid of losing your job, or maybe losing some foundation for you. But if that happens for you, Taurus, it's because it's time for you to get to work on something. And you may be building something over the next couple of years, because Saturn is going to be running through Aquarius for, I believe, until March 2023. And it's not as bad as you think it is with the 7 of Cups. This is the integration. This is how you transmute this 10 of Wands in reverse, letting something go. You're actually taking a mask off. And if you're afraid of losing a job, or for some of you losing a relationship because you take your guard down, or you open up, or you have a conversation that you're afraid to have, then it's pretty safe to say that this just isn't in alignment for you. You're wearing a mask. It's not worth hiding. You're not really in a relationship with someone if you can't even be yourself. And there may be someone who wants to help you out here. And it could be a romantic partner for some of you. Maybe you're afraid to ask for help. And of course, these messages can sometimes come in reverse. There might be someone who is going to be asking you for help, or who's afraid to ask you for help. That is also something to consider for some of you as well. But you have more options than you think, Taurus. You might not be seeing them. You might be stuck in your head. What's the resolution here? Knight of Pentacles. Beautiful. You are working very steadily on something. And again, I'm just saying, some of you are going to be working on a new career. General reading, not going to apply to everyone. Don't freak out. But if you've been thinking about making some sort of change, slow and steady wins the race here. You know, you are building something. And whenever you have Saturn moving through an area of your life, it's kind of the disciplinarian. And there's sometimes tests, there's sometimes lessons, and you're not just handed the things you want. You have to make sure you're doing it the right way the first time. So if you encounter any sort of blockages, especially towards the end of March, think of it as the universe is actually helping you make sure you have everything in a row, everything lined up before you proceed. And for those of you who are looking for love or in a relationship, I see this steady, gradual building of something here. And it's not necessarily about rushing to something, because sometimes when we're dealing with this anxiety, we just want to see the end, right? But it's a process. And I feel like this anxiety that you're dealing with, it is something you're going to be working out. It might take some time. So take it easy on yourself. Let's see what the animal cards have to say. What is the animal wisdom for Taurus? We have two popping out. Scorpion and horse. Sometimes I feel like with these oracle cards, I end up pulling like one or two cards that literally summarize the whole reading. This kind of feels like that. Because with the Scorpion, it's like there's this heat, there is this tension, there's this creature in the shadow. And it needs to be addressed. It needs to be acknowledged, or someone's going to get stung. And it's like, if you're trying to avoid this conflict and it's making you anxious, just kind of keeping it inside, and you don't want to go there, you don't want to have a certain conversation with someone, chances are it's going to kind of lash out at you one way or another. And it's really going to be beneficial if you can be open and just address this. And with horse, this is so similar, Knight of Pentacles. You are being supported by the universe right now. Some of you are actually coming into some really awesome abundance and some really great stability here, but it does take work, it does take effort. Horse is an animal of endurance. And you are going to be in a situation where there isn't an immediate solution. You probably already know that. For those of you who have been resonating with this reading, it's like, you know, you have your work cut out for you. And horse is actually a very powerful totem when you have to really work through a situation, really take a lot of energy and take your time, pace yourself as well. Some of you are going to be really needing to actually exercise. Keep moving. That can help with the energy here, you know, especially cardio, some running, some sprinting maybe. And it's also mental focus, mental discipline. So meditation or any sort of mindful practice can be very beneficial for you this month, particularly those of you who really are struggling with this anxiety. Because I do feel like this is a situation that can be worked out. You're kind of catastrophizing a little bit, some of you. And it's important to acknowledge this. And you're afraid of having a conversation because you're afraid of someone lashing out. But if you don't address it, it might just make it worse in the long run. Just being honest. I'm going to pull one more card for you, Taurus. This time we're going to take a look at the Starseed Oracle. So we have two. Interesting. So we have Mars energy, or the Great Severing, which is Mars energy, anger, conflict, and softening to love. And this is a little different than what it might sound like. I'm actually going to read this one from the book. We also have the blue flame, which is spontaneous awakening, activation, and integration time. Some of you might be having a lot of psychic energy, and that could be part of this anxiety that you're dealing with. If you're having some really intense dreams or having a hard time sleeping, you might be streaming a lot of spiritual energy at night. And with the Great Severing, this is all about coming back together and finding a peaceful resolution here. So let's see what we have. The Great Severing. And for those of you who are curious, this is the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. I have all of the links or all of the names of the decks I use in the description, because I know a lot of people like to ask about that. Anyway, this is a shadow card. One that may feel confrontational. That's Scorpion energy again. Don't be afraid. It's here to bring to the surface anything that's standing in the way of letting love in. The warring planet of Mars is our constant reminder that it's important to soften, forgive, and find our way back to love. There are many things in the human experience that make it difficult for our heart and soul to stay open to the never-ending source of love. We're all wounded, and our unconscious wounds inflict on others. It can feel like a never-ending dance we can never escape. If we aren't careful, before long, we'll see the world as a scary, dangerous place where fear and anxiety roam free. I'm understanding why this card came out for you. If this card surfaces, it could be for two reasons. Firstly, for you to acknowledge the difficult emotions, situations, conflicts, wounds, and fears that are causing you pain and anxiety. And secondly, for you to find your way back to love. When we're hurt, it's normal to close off our heart to the world, to let the painful experiences confirm the agony of separation in earthly life. I was talking about that confirmation bias earlier. Soften and find your way back to love anyway. When fear, anxiety, and paranoia paralyze you, it's normal to want to hide away from others and the world. Come out of your cave and soften your heart anyway. We're all innocent children springing our way around the world. Find a way to see the innocence in all people, especially yourself. The question for this card is, how are you cutting yourself off from love? How can you soften toward those who have hurt you? And I do just want to go back to the reading really quickly that we did earlier, because we do have the Temperance card as advice. This is loving relationships, harmonious relationships. There is still love for you, for some of you, either in a relationship or maybe even just the love of a friend or family member. Don't be removed of that because of some sort of story or because of some sort of wound. Stay open. Recognize the love that is there. And now we have the Blue Flame. Very exciting. So this is a card of awakening and energetic upgrades. Perhaps you're going through a period of spontaneous awakening, receiving visions and having experiences that are out of the ordinary. In the West, little is known about the process of spontaneous awakening, and it can feel very scary when we're going through it alone. Elsewhere, they can be seen as auspicious experiences, with those going through them being treated with tender care. The blue beings are thought to be activating beings with great potential for healing and upgrading our cellular structures. They appear in moments of extreme awakening, activating a physical kundalini awakening and deep cellular healing and DNA healing. Many people glamorize the awakening process. However, in reality, it's much messier and more difficult than most of us believe. We must first let go of what we think we know for sure and how we make sense of the world. This isn't easy. This awakening process, even when it's spontaneous, takes a considerable amount of time to integrate, yes. And awakening without integration can leave us feeling very ungrounded. If you're in the midst of an awakening, the process never ends. Treat this time as a deeply sacred as deeply sacred and give yourself ample space and ground and integrate the extreme changes you are going through. Place your hand over your heart and whisper the following. I allow myself to surrender to the awakening process that's right for me. I take things slowly and integrate my experience each and every day. Yeah, so really taking it one step at a time. There's no quick solution here. We have that Knight of Pentacles, that horse energy. It is going to be a journey here. And, really taking care of yourself and physically taking care of yourself, doing those mindfulness practices, those are all going to be super, super helpful for you, Taurus. Those are all the messages I have for you for today. I do hope this was helpful. Please hit like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what this awakening is stirring up in you, if it's changing something, maybe in your career or your life purpose. Seems really exciting when you think about it like that, but I know it can be scary. And of course, I have links for personal readings and Reiki sessions down below, as well as links for all of my other resources and social media. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, Taurus. Happy March.